Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Link to Fast Randomizer Spoiler Tournament. We have a Week 3 race, one of our last ones before Week 4 begins. Here we have RickyofKokiri versus Canadian Major, a 1-1 match. How's it going tonight, folks? I am Wolfling0370, and joining me on the mic is Ark. How's it going?
It's going great. Welcome, everyone. Good evening from Central US for me. And wherever you are, glad to join you with us. Yeah, sure. Tonight for the spoiler log bracket as we finish up Week 3 of the Swiss.
Yes, and to give you guys a brief overview of the road thus far, Canadian Major defeated Yornkir's Life in Week 1, but was defeated by Tam 216 in Week 2. Meanwhile, Ricky was defeated by Amber in Week 2 to get to this point today. And to give you a brief overview of what a spoiler log seed is basically pretty much what it says on the tin. These runners, along with us up here, have access to the spoiler log, so which means they now know where everything is in this seed, and they have been spending the last 15 minutes planning a route. And now it'll be soon time to execute the route, as they are going to get started here in a matter of moments.
It may seem like 15 minutes is a lot of time, but when all you have is a notepad text document and 15 minutes to find upwards of 70 items and then find the right route, 15 minutes can go by so fast. I know a number of times we've talked with runners after races, they've been figuring out their key selection for pod and whatever while they're walking to it because they don't have enough time to route everything in. So usually we'll see runners maybe start off with the same route and then diverge. We'll see what happens today. This one looks to be a bit of a challenging seed for our runners today.
Challenging seed when you have the spoiler log setting here. So, to give an idea how this seed is going to basically play out, not so much as a definitive what this is going to happen in a sort of scenario, but just something as general that you still normally see in a spoiler log seed, is because they know where everything is, the runners can basically play this like NMG and take as many safeties as they so choose that they feel they need. As we see, we start off getting a sword here in Link's house and 10 bombs from the Sanctuary, which is an amazing source. Good early starting for bombs.
And it was get the sword and then leave. And while we're getting off this early start, we do want to also say, because it's a spoiler log race, both Ricky and Canadian Major have the opportunity to be in chat with us, to be watching the restream, and to be watching each other's stream. So they can see what their opponent is doing and factor that into their route as well. And so it looks like Ricky is going to be going...
Canadian Major both doing a Houlihan strat. Canadian Major did not opt to get the 10 bomb pack in the Sanctuary, though. And yes, folks, I was mentioning earlier about safeties here. And basically what that means is items like heart containers, there's armor upgrades, bottles, magic powder, their cape. All those are collectively known as safety items, in which they basically give us a nice little advantage if we have them, but they're not necessarily necessary to beat the game. So we're going to see maybe a few low hard runs, we're going to see a few 3-mil low hard runs. It's going to be fairly difficult for our runners here, and if they somehow don't execute well, which can happen sometimes, so they can get unlucky, this can be a very costly death, and that could turn the tide of a race.
It's a big balancing act when you look at the spoiler log and trying to figure out...
Point!
There's your first death, just like that. What safeties can you get through? If you get the random RNG on something and it just takes a death, it can really throw you off. So trying to find that right balance between how many safeties you need and
Canadian Major still without bombs for the early game. I'm gonna get 20 rupees here and a heart piece. That is actually a convenient thing to route with them. Also, the mirror. Ricky's attempting Paradox Cave once again, or Mini Molder Cave again. Sorry, I spoke.
little bit safer to do it with bombs, but can also run your bomb supply out. Looks like a little bit of both will get through this time. There's a lot of early game items as we see the lamp on Canadian Major's side, also a heart, one of the safeties you're talking about, a flute on Ricky's side. The items are coming in fast and furious. Shovel
as well, and more bombs.
And while we're here, want to thank Adlor, our tracker tonight, trying to keep track of all these items coming fast and furious. And you will also note at the bottom of your screen, they have already filled in the crystals, the pendants, which one are the 5-6 crystals, the green pendant, and of course, we only need ether today. Ether will get us into both Mire if we need to, as well as Turtle Rock. There will be no checks of the map because both of our runners know where everything is already.
And the spoiler log isn't so detailed as to tell you what the poultry prices are, what the order crabs have. Even if you take a fish and return them to the water, which does give you a random item in the randomizer, or random generic pickup anyway, rupees, bombs, etc. And again, I'm still surprised that Canadian does not have bombs in the early game. They are so useful an item to have, as are those boats that RickyofKokiri just found.
It's two very different choices on how to route this early game. Canadian Major going to desert, which we haven't seen Ricky even pick up the book yet, so that's going to be difficult. But again, no boots yet on Canadian Major. And maybe we'll find out here why the boots are so important.
Well, there's a bow right there. That helps. Also, folks, in case we missed it, and in case you guys missed it, the book was sold by the merchant for 100 rupees. So Ricky's going to be dashing over there right now, getting his book, and also, while he's at it, turning on his flute.
So what is in desert that's very, very important to this seed?
Small key, apparently.
Stay tuned. We'll figure it out. And Ricky has gone ahead and bombed Blind's hut, which Canadian Major did not do, so I wonder if it's another one of those safeties in the back.
Could be a safety or could be a required item that Canadian was just hoping to find bombs for. It's just 20 more rupees.
It does seem like money is playing a big part of the seed so far.
Yeah, normally you don't see a Houlihan star from either runner as we get the fire rod out of desert. Could be meaning that we need Zora, could also just be meaning that the money is going to be barely starved this seed and locked in Ganon's tower. Or it could be both.
We will need a little bit of money to get into pod, but both of our runners do have enough for that already.
And with 1.5 hearts, has to be a little on the careful side here. Oh, gets sucked in the vortex by the antlion. Could not escape. Takes a hit. Not dead yet. Demos. Oh, almost sniped him. Well, now he's all the way out here in desert. And he has no glove. Where's our glove? Well, there's our Master Sword. Native Invader without a glove has to reroute. He will be having to figure out where to go next. Looks like he's gonna head back to Kakariko. Meanwhile, Ricky is going to lift the rock, but does not have the glove either. Both runners making that minor mistake regarding glove placement. and a simultaneous entry into 2 different locations. Canadian is opting to pay money to buy bombs. Meanwhile, Ricky stumbles upon another 50 rupees.
So far in this seed, we haven't seen a glove, we don't have a hammer, we do have a mirror, we haven't seen the moon pearl yet. A lot of our early game items that we need for Dark World access seem to be in positions that are not that easy to get to.
No. They're either, dare I say it, in Dark World, or they're just in really awkward locations that are locked behind a lot more progression than we initially have. Ricky's entering desert right now. Presumably also to get the fire rod. Also of note, both runners picked up the lamp. And we have the Master Sword. And the fire rod is fairly free. Oh no. Don't tell me we have an Agassiz here. This is Agassiz written all over it based on the lamp pickup and the Master Sword being available so early.
No.
I mean, I'll admit the possibility.
So our runners are kind of covering each other's footsteps a little bit here. Canadian Major going to Mini World Arm, which Ricky was a little bit ago, and Ricky's going through the right side of desert to pick up the fire rod, which both of them have now.
So someone is asking in chat, how many reviews does one need an entire run? Assuming only one run of each game. In Randomizer, it depends on where you need to go, but it can vary from as little as 110 rupees to open up the Just Palace of Darkness, all the way up to maybe like 300 and 850 rupees because you have to pay Zora, Kiki, the Super Bomb Vendor, the Merchant, and the Smiths, which only costs a sparse 10. If you're gonna opt to enter this room here, which you don't normally see, it has a couple of fairies for you to use. It's a nice little fairy fountain that's a nice midway point through the dungeon.
And still no gloves.
See, people are actually calculating the amount of money in chat here for us. And I see someone said 50 rupees for the chess game. That is actually 30 rupees for the chess game. And I remember that one distinctly because I dabbled in Inverted for a little bit. I had to know that one.
So at this point, our runners have taken different ways to get there, but we basically have the same item pool minus a sword at this point. And we're gonna get a high five.
Is walking over.
Double flutes.
Has actually Canadian Major been down to Ice Rod Cave? I don't remember.
Yeah, he's picked up the boost. They both have the boots.
Ricky opting to head over to looks to be eastern area.
Well, that would make sense. We have a lamp and bow already.
Yeah, we can full clear Eastern Palace. Although I say that with knowing full well that they already know where everything is.
What does the uncle have in his closet today?
Heart piece, which gets 4. Hey, there's our glove.
So first glove, not too hard to pick up.
And Ricky is out of there. Heading back to desert. We've already got the fire right out of desert. What else could be in here? The second item, right?
Or they need to clear desert for the green pendant.
Gotta be one and the other too. I don't see any other reason to be over here. But these runners are moving with a purpose, so we'll find out what it is. And Chad is pointing out a simple fact, but a crucial one nonetheless. They have to do this pendant before they even have access to the Dark World, which probably means something akin to our Dark World progression is behind this. But we can't go for sure, obviously.
This is just a crazy seed so far.
Yeah, very convoluted early game, this one. And Chad is asking, isn't easy clearable? That is correct, but note that we have the mirror and we also have to do Palace of Darkness as well, which is also crystal. So more likely than not, our two runners here are saving Eastern Palace so they can do what we commonly call the Pod Eastern play, in which they get both dungeons done in one trip.
Or the other obvious thing is green pendant is something, and they have to go to Sahasrara and then can go to Eastern as well.
There's also an option, yes. They probably do both, actually.
Master Sword spins on Lamos for Ricky. With Canadian Major not too far behind. 2 Lamos down, and the third falls.
And the boss is only 20 rupees, so it's something on the green pendant.
Oh no! Didn't pick up the big T.
Oh. And wasn't the big key on the torch too?
Yes, the big key is on the torch.
Alright, well, green pendant in hand, and Ricky is heading back to go turn it in immediately.
And as some in chat are pointing out, I think the likely thing is you think you can just make it to Sahasrara in one trip, bring the green pendant over, but if you need the gloves for the oh my goodness. You have to go get the gloves, go to desert, come back and get the mushroom, and then turn the mushroom in. Please tell me, well, we know it's not the shovel, because we have the shovel.
Yeah, and here's the thing. No matter what this is, if it's required for Dark World access, we still are missing one piece of the puzzle. Or two even. We don't have the hammer or the gloves now that we have the Moon Pearl. Still worried about that lamp pickup.
Well, I guess there's one other way to get there.
Ricky's heading up to the castle.
This seed just gets better and better.
It's the left turn. If you see him go south, this is an Aga seed. It is! So it's agate required for Dark World access. And judging by this, we can pretty much safely say that somewhere in the Dark World is our hammer and our other glove. Because they would be going after them otherwise. It's either that or there's something in progression that locks them, and that's in Dark World. This is a fairly convoluted Agassi too. You need to get the boots from Ice Rod Cave, and the books from the Bottle Merchant, and the gloves from Sohatsrala, as well as the lamp or the fire rod from the desert, in order to get the green pendant, so you can turn it into Sohatsrala to get the mushroom, to then turn in the mushroom to get the moon pearl. And that's just for the moon pearl. The swords are fairly easy to come by, thankfully. Canadian Major will need to find another sword, though. But thankfully, we know that one is in Sanctuary. He, meanwhile, forgetting to kill the key guard. Does get the key, though.
This Lamola fight with Fighter Sword has been rough.
Indeed. The Canadian didn't have access to the Master, but yeah, he got him down, and now he will be getting his Moon Pearl.
The red guard's proving a little difficult as well. This siege has just been cruel. Only have 5 hearts right now. About 20 minutes into the siege. Still on green mail for both runners.
Shapuskas are very annoying enemy types. They're just bats, but they have Dark World damage addition, despite being in the Light World. You're gonna play it safe and use the fire rod to kill the guards. Wow, burn him and send him off the cliff. That is some punishment. Anyway, folks, we have a mini game we like to play here when we have to deal with Aghanim 1. Both runners have the same seeded pattern for both Aga 1, Aga 2, and Ganon, in which the same pattern of shots and the same teleports are taken. And there's this one shot type that Aga throws that we call the blue balls, and we can't reflect those. How many do you think we're gonna get? For the first attack, he will always shoot a reflectable orange shot, and now the next 3 attacks are either a reflectable orange shot or an unreflectable blue shot. There's the blue shot right there. After which he'll shoot lightning down the room, completely random, cannot predict it at all. It's safe to stand next to him though. After which, the fight will reset its cycles and you'll start with a guaranteed reflectable orange shot. We already have some guesses there in chat. I haven't been keeping track of the blue balls since mentioning that. I think we only have 1 so far.
And while that's going on, it's exciting to see a little bit of divergence with Canadian Major taking the dip into East.
Someone jokingly asked this the question, oh, the patterns list the spoilers? Actually, no, and I actually asked about this, I think, last tournament, and the answer is simply it would take a lot more work to figure out, to get that information to the runners. A lot more, extra lines of code.
So at 21 minutes and 55 seconds, we have made it to the Dark World.
And a heart piece on the pyramid, as it's meant to be. Meanwhile, Canadian is doing Eastern Palace. And his rupee route is a little barren compared to Ricky's, who's still on 378. And he's collected a lot of rupees. There has to be a reason for it. We just don't know yet. My gut is on Zora, though. And if my gut is right, we're gonna see the Zora play most likely after Pod Eastern here from Ricky. And based on Canadian Major's movements and the fact we haven't found a big key yet, looks like the big key is vanilla here in Eastern Palace. And Chad bringing up a good point of reading the meta here a little bit of the seed as well. If Ricky's going into Palace of Darkness without the hammer, odds are the hammer is here. Either that or it's something locking the hammer progression.
Very nice safety that you always, when you have to take a 2-room jaunt to get a hold of half magic, is very nice. There does always seem to be something here. I know a couple of seeds I've done, the bow has been in pod. That's vanilla big key in Eastern Palace.
Alright. Come now. And there's our hammer. And a couple of raid slashes to go with it.
And another rupee room that you don't often see to help Canadian Major get his total.
A goofy looking space jump there off of the ground. We're gonna quickly zip back out of the room real quick to reset the enemies as well.
And also the arrow total has been brought down to 0 for Canadian Major, so he had to drop back out to get some arrows for the item.
Yeah, the Igor is fairly difficult to kill with the fire start. It is doable, but they take a lot of hits. Better to just either grab a pot or hit one with an arrow.
So pod is one of our 5/6 crystals, if that becomes important. So we will be doing the full clear down to Helmasaur King. Will there be anything else of value here? That's the question at this point. Looks like we're probably going to a rupee room.
Yeah, I forgot that Palace of Darkness has a rupee room just down here that you can get as we find the big key as well. You don't really think of this as a rupee room because there's chests down here as well that have items in them. But this is a good place to stock up. You need money. And there's our hookshot as well, which we do need for Swamp Palace. Canadian Major waiting patiently for the Armos Knights to get in position. Looking to take the fight a little on the careful side. And gets it done. Very nicely done. And that is the first crystal of the match in Canadian Major's hands.
And as we're getting close to the half-hour mark, we want to go ahead and remind all of our viewers to give both of our runners a follow today. Ricky of Kokiri and Canadian Major putting on a show for us. Week 3 of the Spoiler Log Tournament. If you're just joining us, both of our runners had 15 minutes before we started to check out a text file with a list of all the items and then try and find the best route they can to get through the seed as quickly as possible. This seed sent us all over the place on a fetch quest for a mushroom that leads to the Moon Pearl, which helps us go to AGA 1 to get Dark World access. So, probably not the greatest seed that our runners thought of when they opened this document about 45 minutes ago.
Canadian Major looked to be heading to Aghanim, but I think he's now heading to Mini Moldrum Cave. Was those fake jumps? I don't think I've ever seen that before.
And as Canadian Major heads up towards the Zora area, our first look at Helmosaur King.
17 hammer strikes plus 8 arrows to the gem. Oh, and this has to be run extremely carefully. This fight can get really hectic when the mass is broken. 8 slashes will do the fight. End. Oh, and there's unfortunately a move plus a tail swing, which unfortunately is a checkmate scenario. Canadian Major, meanwhile, gets another sword that we did not actually see yet. Now has Master Sword, now has access to fight Aghanim 1. Looks to be heading over to the library to go pick up the other sword, which is there as well. So we'll be on Tempered Sword for Aga 1 onward. Nice to have a little bit of a combat advantage. I will say that much. Ricky, unfortunately, taking the death to Helmosaur King, will have to go back down and rematch him. Thankfully, a rematch from Helmosaur King is not that bad, but the trip back does add up time as it goes on. There are other boss fights that are very dangerous on a refight, and immediately Blind comes to mind. Hopefully, he'll be nice to us a little bit later.
And hopefully we'll be able to find a few more safeties. 5 hearts is all that we've been able to come by. The armor hasn't been identifiable, and the one thing also, no bottles yet. So haven't been able to find any red goo or a fairy or anything as another safety for the...
Alright, Aghanim 1 in ascent, beginning now for Canadian Major. Ricky is on full health here in 5 hearts. Doesn't down the fireball, does get unfortunately cornered by the tail swing. 6 hits, 7 hits, 8 hits, down he goes. Very well-deserved vengeance there on Ricky. I think that tail swipe, if it connected, would have been game over. That's 3 bombs and the first crystal in the match for Ricky. Pod being one of the 5-6 crystals, in fact. I believe Skullwoods is our other one, if I'm reading the tracker right.
I think Swamp is the other 5-6.
Let me double check, actually. Oh yes, so it is. It can be really hard to see that little star there with Argus.
We'll be lighting them up soon enough to be sure.
Well, we can't light up Argus just yet. We don't have the flippers. And Canadian Major is just taking that Temper Sword and absolutely destroying all the guards on his way up the tower.
So we'll probably get an idea of where we are a little bit after this. It looks like Ricky's ahead, having already taken out Aga 1 and proceeding through Eastern. Probably gonna have half of a dungeon's lead at this point. But that combat advantage could help out Canadian Major catch up here.
Indeed. And if the safeties don't pick up here for either runner, we could see a lot more deaths, which means a lot more time can be thrown off the one way or the other. I mean, if you really want, and yeah, if you really want to draw a parallel to how dangerous this mode is, this is basically any percent NMG, except you have a randomized roadmap, and there's a lot less safeties you have to take along the way. Because even with NMG, they still have to collect those heart pieces, or those heart containers at the end of each boss. Those are randomized, and those are optional as far as we're concerned. So we're often at less health than a normal any percent NMG run.
So another nice thing to know about is where all those extra ferry and safety rooms are that can help you along the way refill if you need to. Ricky pulling one out right there.
Yeah, I believe every light world does have a fairy fountain. We'll be seeing Hera's, I believe, shortly with the Hera Puncher. We commonly see it, actually, these days. Alright, Ricky is entering Eastern Palace, whereas Canadian Major is putting the finishing touches on Aga 1. One more reflectable shot left, I believe, now. Nice! Double red Igor kill. Very clean.
And holding your sword out is really nice help there to help make that easier to accomplish. You can, if you let one of those Igors get by you, they hit hard, especially with low hearts, and they can really add to.
Okay, Major picking up a fourth heart piece there, now up to 6 hearts. Ricky is now cleared Eastern Palace. That puts Canadian Major roughly a full dungeon behind with the entirety of Palace of Darkness to clear. So Ricky, in terms of routing between the two runners, definitely has a cleaner route going for him, but he has died a couple times, whereas Canadian Major, I don't think, has died once. So if Ricky takes a few more risks and tries to be a little bit faster, those deaths might start adding up and shift this to Canadian Major's favor.
So Ricky's going to pick up the third sword that we just saw Canadian Major pick up before he went toward, while Canadian Major goes into pod. And Ricky does have enough money for Zora.
Wait, the red boomerang was there too. Ugh. Shaking my head right now. And it is heading up to Zora. There's something here. And it's not that 300. Although that would be nice to have when we need it.
That just kind of taunts you. You need 300 bucks for Zora? Well,
just do a second lap. And get the flippers. And on Zora, we have the Ice Rod, which we do 100% require for Trinex. So this was an Aga Seed plus a Zora Seed. in a spoiler log race. I'm already wanting to throw the seed in the bin. Ricky getting a little heal from Zelda there, and moving on.
And just to add to that, the 300 locations were not too nice for their runners either to get up to that money, so they had to be pretty creative in how they found enough money to afford Zora.
Indeed. Now, it's very clear here that there are guards in Kakariko Village now for RickyofKokiri. That is something I should probably mention, or we should probably mention rather, about the state of the Light World now, is that we're actually in a second version of the Light World, and this version only happens after you defeat Aghanim 1. In general, it's just harder. There's a lot more dangerous enemies. The guards are all over the place. And there's even Tektites on the western side of Death Mountain now. But on the flip side, the gateway in Hyrule Castle is now a portal that we can use to get the Super Bomb back faster, or just get to the pyramid faster in general from the Light World. And the chess game has for us a heart container. Ricky now up to 7. Still not quite at a safe health total. Again, and hug if the endgame will be fatal. So, I believe if Ricky gets armor, then he will be safe. Okay, definitely now, if he finds armor, he'll be safe from being one-shot by Ganon. Okay, all the health in Dark World apparently. So now with 9 hearts, Ricky is now 100% safe if he chooses to stay on Green Mail. I don't know about him, but personally, from my perspective, I would at least try to maybe round in the armor if it's available. Because, I don't know, it's just me, I would rather not be at less than one full row of hearts with just Green Mail.
But, I mean, the way we've seen this seed so far, I may not want to let you get the armor without going way out of the way. We'll see.
That is also fair. Ricky picking up bombos. Interesting call. It's not the medallion we need, but it does allow one to essentially quick kills Cold Stare, really. Just use the bombos medallion and then just shoot the fire rod, and we should have enough shots in the fire rod with half magic to kill the boss with relative ease.
I hope you're not saying that we need to go kill Cold Stare in this seed.
I was about to realize, yes, Cold Stare is a dependent boss, so why would we get bombos then? That's a curious thing.
Well, my thought would be, as I've only done a couple of these spoiler log races, but one of my biggest challenges is remembering which chest is the map chest and which chest is the compass chest. So, perhaps Ricky has the same problem I do and thought that was one of the chests when it was actually the other one.
That could be something. Another thing that comes to my mind, which is probably makes the most sense and is the most common reason you would pick something up, is menuing. Because now with bombos, instead of menuing... Oh, actually, bombos doesn't really help with the menuing in this instance because of where the flute is. I don't know.
And those Dark World enemies do still hit hard, especially on Green Mail.
Thankfully, these Zaxx there, the red ones, are in the fairy dropping pool, which is the high value pool as well.
The helmet has come off of King Helmasaur, Going arrow strats. Helmasaur is being extremely nice and not moving, and a great kill from Canadian Major to pick up the pod.
I think Canadian Major got sort of an animation cancel in which Helmasaur King attempted to shoot fireballs, but the mask broke. So that forced him to stay put for a little bit. Very nicely done. It's not easy to perform either. Or it could be, for all I know. Never actually tried to deliberately break the vase in such a timed fashion.
It looks like we still have about a 1 dungeon
Oh
lead.
no, that's not good.
We're off script on blind.
And we should probably go brief over what we mean by that. So blind is a fight that you really don't want to mess up the execution for on your first physics. The second fight onward is very difficult. But basically what we do is if we get blind the first time, as soon as possible, every single time, the fight plays out the exact same way, and it's thus very much a safe fight if you know where to move and where to stand. By getting bonked there, Ricky could not hit it blind on the first possible frame to set up the script, and thus had to improvise there. Very lucky that he got through it on his first trip, though. It is really hard to rematch blind.
That was a very clean, unscripted fight, too. So
Indeed.
really props to Ricky for that fight. That looked really...
That was a really good fight, and one that could have gone really south really fast. Blind is actually one of the more dangerous bosses if you're off script. Probably the most dangerous boss if you're off script, even.
So we get to see Hype Cave on Canadian Major's side, and we're also learning about what is in Skull Woods on Ricky's side. Couple safeties.
Nothing else, it looks like. Cannon Burn is alright as a safety as we get the flippers, though. That gives us swamp access. But yeah, Cannon Burn is not an ideal safety. It is one to use, and it's very nice to have. It is overall more magic efficient than using something like the Cape for your invincibility item. But the major drawback is with the Cane of Burna, you cannot use the spin attack, which is Link's trade move, and often does double damage. So
It
you're
can also
often,
help you... Sorry.
So yeah, you're often stuck resulting in sword slashes, which generally gives you low damage.
It can also help you if you get off script in a blind fight, as Ricky takes death walking into the back of Skull Woods.
And yeah, going with what you said there, the Cane of Burna also does fighter sword damage, which blind is actually one of the few bosses that he's vulnerable to fighter sword damage. So quite often you get the Cane of Burna, you can, and with half magic and good timing, you can just, for lack of a better way to describe it, hug blind to death. And it's really humorous, but also really effective way to kill blind without having to worry about the script if you don't know it.
And there's a good use of bombos right there. Clean out all the mummies so you don't have to deal with that.
That's probably why Ricky got it, actually, to deal with Gibdos. I don't blame him for it either. That's a very effective way to get rid of those enemies without having to waste extra magic. Of course, you do sacrifice a few seconds to the animation, which is the longest of the 3 medallions. But beggars can't be choosers, really, when you want to get through a room safely.
And there's a few times where it's nice to have full magic for your fire rod when you're fading Mothia.
That's correct. Canadian Major now in the graveyard in the Dark World. And is opting to go to King's Tomb.
Ricky only taking 1 heart of damage in the Mothula fight, very well executed, and cleans up yet another crystal. Blue
And there's
mail.
our armor.
I think
And
one of the best safeties you...
What is that coloration of Lucario? I've never seen that before. I have to admit, that is a little bit horrifying. Just the yellow stripes suddenly. That's better than the shiny color? I don't usually go shiny hunting, so I guess I would take your word on that one. Goldman's down for RickyofKokiri here, and we're going to move on. Looks like Ricky's heading over to Swamp to clear that out next.
Yeah, Swamp, Hera, and Turtle Rock are the 3 crystal dungeons he has yet to do. Being able to Turtle Rock into Hera into Ganon's Tower is always the wish in these seeds, but it never seems to happen, so that'd be something to see if after the mean start to the seed you get to route those 3 together.
Wait a minute, I'm looking at the trackers now. I just realized something. 2 items away from go mode. We're missing the Cane of Samaria, we're missing the Titan Smiths. And if we're going to Swamp first, well, Swamp makes the most sense because it's the next one just on the mountain. So either the Titan Smiths are in Swamp, they're in the overworld, and Ricky just hasn't chosen to get them yet. Or they're on Death Mountain as well, maybe over in Paradox Cave. And I'm only saying that because it's where the odds lie when it comes to that location.
And many of our friends in chat have pointed out we also do not have access to Turtle Rock right now, as Ether is missing.
Ah, yes, you're right. I forgot about Ether. It's always the medallions I forget. It's so common for me to forget that it's not even funny. And yet I still laugh at it. Anyway, Ricky is looking at the map here, or maybe looking at the spoiler log a little bit for Swamp. Does want something here. It's the Titan Smiths.
Definitely want something here. It's a good one to make sure that you get correct. Smart move, as you mentioned, our runners can look at the spoiler seed at any time. So if you see a moment where they just kind of stop moving for a moment, probably checking out
I just saw the bunny
to make sure
sprite.
they don't miss something.
I just saw the bunny sprite for Lucario, and it's I forget the name of the pre-evolve form, but it's that. Riolu, there it is. It was some it's on the tip of my tongue, I just didn't remember it. I haven't touched much my Pokemon games in a while. Looks like Ricky is gonna be heading straight to the back here. And maybe we'll see the bomb version of Diver Down. And for anyone who might be tuning in for the first time wondering what Diver Down is a randomizer approved trick that lets us essentially skip lowering the water level here in Swamp Palace, but looks like Ricky's just gonna take the normal route to get to it. But it does follow a little bit of fence clipping, which in NMG is not allowed. So it's one of the few things that is different between NMG and Randomizer is the tricks that have been approved to be used.
RickyofKokiri heading into the Argos fight. Hookshot and Tempered Sword.
Through all of the Argai before he can attack the main body. After which, It's actually just 4 tempered sword slashes and the fight's over. Same amount of health actually that Helmerstar King has, as well as Mopula, surprisingly. Mopula just seems he has 4 HP because the spikes are removing some of the damage that you deal to him. Going with spins, which deal double damage, and there we go, fight's over. And the silvers are on Argus.
It's always nice when those just happen to fall in your lap.
So this is, and because you needed the bow earlier, yeah, it was a bow locked hammer in Palace of Darkness, which means that is an unavoidable little silver arrows. That is the intended silvers. We could not have picked up that bow first.
And here we're seeing the cane of Berna do work. Down to 1.5 hearts for Canadian Major. Pulls out the cane and takes down the fight to pick up 3rd crystal on his side. We're going to King's Tomb on Ricky.
Ricky's gonna opt to pick up the blue mail there before heading up the mountain.
I think a wise choice.
Because the next play here is clearly Hera.
Yeah, I don't think we can find Samaria inside of Turtle Rock anymore.
No, we cannot.
Here are those Tektites you mentioned earlier, which have gummed up the...
that was Ether.
No.
Ether's on Spectacle Rock. Medium mirror onto picking it up. And entering the Hera we go. We can Herapod here. But Ricky's gonna go downstairs? Oh, well, there's go mode right there. 55 minutes, 11 seconds. Ricky of Kokiri is now officially in go mode.
We did it!
So, a fairly kind mid-game to the seed, if you... Don't you agree?
Yeah, getting silvers for free is nice. Having the blue mail is a great way to be. A lot of stuff just routed nicely towards the end. It's just the beginning was
the beginning was a mess. Now we're seeing a trick called Herapod, folks, another randomizer approved trick. Unfortunately, Ricky missed the mark. So what Ricky's trying to do is just clip into the very corner of this pot here. And then he's going to hook shot into the other corner. Which he did not do, so he's going to have to reset here. Or go get the big key, which is in the base. It's been a location. If he had successfully done that, and he would have been able to fall down into the pot. And in doing so, he would be in the fairy room of Tower Hera, which I alluded to earlier. And there's a warp tile in that room. That warp tile takes you up to the intended start of getting to the fairy room, in which you fall down a bunch of holes. And that start is at the top floor before Moldorm in Tower Hera, which means we basically skipped the entire dungeon.
And importantly, the big key.
Yes.
Hope everyone had a nice tea break as we head back to the farthest reaches of Tower of Hera's basement.
Blessing in disguise here, because if there's something like a safety that's in the big chest or on the way, Ricky can opt to just quickly detour and route that in now, instead of just skipping it entirely. see what he's planning here in just a little bit.
And let's see how Canadian Major handles Mothula. Going for fire rod shots to begin with.
Fire Rod does do a lot of damage to Mothula, but every time Mothula hits those spikes, the damage gets negated because Mothula's programmed to not take damage from those spikes. And hey, speaking of safeties, there's the cape!
And a clean Mothula kill for Canadian Major, picking up crystal number 4. Good fight.
Quick spin and a slash. Go for double spin just to be safe. And down goes Moldorm 1. We're seeing him again in a little bit. There's the map. And the boss music didn't play, I just realized. That happens sometimes. But anyway, that is crystal number 6 for RickyofKokiri. All that's standing between him and Gannis Tower right now is Turtle Rock. And he's going to be heading over there in just a matter of moments. Oh, what's this? He's opting to, instead of going straight to Turtle Rock, to go to Spiral Cave. Well, it's with boots, so it's not going to be that much of a detour. And there's a portal downstairs that'll let him get back to Dark Death Mountain and get back on track without having to deal with dead rocks. And that's our first bottle of the match, and it has a fairy in it. Yeah, you know what? I'd say that's a good detour. I'd say that's a good detour.
And another thing we can point out, we don't know if our runners are watching, but they could be watching the stream with us currently. And if you, in Ricky's case, know you have a little bit of a lead, taking a moment to going and getting a safety just to help you route a little bit safer is a good idea. So it looks like that's what Ricky's doing right now. A second dive to pick up 2 more hearts. So health is looking really good after from where we started, where we were running around with 5 hearts for a good part of the early. Got our Titan's Mitts on Canadian Major's side, so he can run through the rest of Swamp straight to our...
I was just about to mention it too. Alright, final Crystal Dungeon. Coming up here for Ricky. Another heart piece on Floating Island if he so chooses to go get it, but I don't think he's going to. Although, that is something that the routing can sometimes do with this sort of style set. Or rule set, rather. In which, you don't really think about it, but sometimes runners have the foresight to plan out a heart piece route as well. And that's just so that when they get that 4th heart piece, they get time in such a way they get a full heal from it, because... well, whenever you get a new heart container, it's a full heal, with the exception of boss arts. So it can be opportunistic and timely to heal in such a fashion.
So Ricky's going to start off going to the right side. And use the fire rod to light some torches. It's going to be behind the roller room today. 2 chests back here. A couple of keys. Using those iframes almost perfectly. The last one got a hit in.
get thrown off every now and then when you slash at a door and it makes the vine cutting sound. Kind of a strange oversight, that. It makes me think I broke the door. Anyway, change out room here. Second most dangerous enemy in the entire game. As you can see right there, as it took a big chunk out of Ricky's heart. I think that was 3 hearts lost there.
Game Manager saying hi to the R guys. 4 left before he can go after Argus himself.
One down.
One
And
more
considering that Ricky...
Yes.
Has Ricky found the boss key? Yes, he has, so... More likely than not, he's just gonna fight this Pokey, kill it, turn it into a mushroom. And apparently there's something in the central chest here. Magic powder! It's another nice safety to have, and a very welcome one. And use that immediately coming up here to heal before entering the next section of the dungeon. Canadian Major, meanwhile, is on Death Mountain. We know Gomo is only a few minutes away for him.
Two well-aimed fire rod shots to take out the Pokies.
Ricky is skipping the big key chest. And you alluded to this earlier, that the runners often resort to looking back at the spoiler log. They are allowed to do that, by the way. Hey, we forgot to mention it. They can just go back to the spoiler log anytime after the 15-minute study period. And it looks like Ricky is doing that to route his keys here in Turtle Rock. And we're coming up to the final floor here of Turtle Rock, as Canadian Major is now in go mode at 105, 30, and counting.
And dungeon keys can often be one of those things that you just don't have time to route in while you're doing your pre-race 15-minute check of the spoiler log. So walking up to the dungeons when you might be doing it, or you just get to take a second while you're in the dungeon and make sure you can find enough keys to get through the route successfully and not have to backtrack. So easy to do.
Now, I know chat is probably itching to play a certain game we like to play, but unfortunately, spoiler log setting is not really good for it. But then again, it's me. I have a twist on it, so...
One last small key and laser bridge, and looks like we're heading to Trineck.
Right. Oh, dang. Vinny Helmser blocked the shot. Getting the ice rod primed and ready to go. Alright, here we go. It'll be 5 slashes for each of these heads or 3 spins. Takes out the first one. Stops the ice head from shooting. Very nicely done. That's very lucky as well. Doesn't have any ice on the ground. In a good position from the turtle for phase 2 here. Ricky could set up a double spin. Does not get it. There is a way you can get the recoil to knock yourself into the snake. To get a double hit on phase 2 here. But ladies and gentlemen, that's the boss defeated. That's a piece of heart. And that is the final crystal. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a game we like to play. We have 22 chests in Ganon's Tower, but the runners know where the big key is amongst them. So instead of giving us a number, chat, tell us which chest you think it is. The specific chest. Keep in mind, because the runners are going to be opening up as few chests as possible to get this big key, guessing a number is skewed.
Troll Dorm able to knock Canadian Major out in the first round, so we'll see what happens Canadian in round 2. Also to Troll Dorm.
There is quite a few guesses here. Someone is guessing just the entirety of Compass Room. That is a valid guess. I'll allow that.
Zero burn after my own heart. I always vote for vanilla on this game.
Let's see where it is.
Two sword slashes and Canadian Major takes down Moldorm. Off to Turtle Rock for him.
So, heading over to Stalfos Room, also known as Dark Magician Room. Doesn't look like it was on the torch either. Ricky's studying the log carefully here to make sure he follows it perfectly. There's a small key in the mini Stalfos Room. 2 small keys.
And yes, good on Canadian Major for not going to Turtle Rock. Doesn't have Ice Rod yet.
Very good call.
So he's heading up towards Zora.
He does have Moldorm down though.
Yes.
And in the map chest is the big key.
And thankfully for Canadian Major, as you can see right there, there happens to be $300 up here. So does have enough money when they pick that up to pay off.
Hoopa got it. Firebar room, which is also the map room. Very nicely done.
Come on, game. Hitbox.
Right. RickyofKokiri now is sending Gen's tower to finish off the seed, only a few minutes away from victory. And with 12 hearts, blue mail, a bottle with a fairy in it, and magic powder, very safe currently. Has plenty of ways to heal. And a safety net on top of that. That being said, Ricky does not have a net to recapture a fairy if he uses the fairy that's in his bottle. So the more likely scenario is Ricky will then flute to 2 to get a blue potion, which he'll have to keep in mind to use, but at least he'll have something to heal with. You're on the mountain again, heading over to Turtle Rock.
Silver arrows can take out the Lamos in one shot, but the timing is a little bit harder than using the fire rod. looking to go with sword spin. One down.
Let's see where
1-8
Canadian Major. Canadian Major is about to enter Turtle Rock here.
All three down.
Oh! That is a bit of a rip right there for RickyofKokiri. Just a 3 cycle on the second room of Wiz Ropes here. That does eat up quite a bit of time. But yeah, 12 hearts blue mail. Although, granted, at this point I don't think anyone's gonna go get the other armor upgrade. Hey Dark, do you think it's safe to divulge that?
I think it's safe to say that neither of them are going to go.
Yeah, no one's gonna save the frog.
A little bit out of the way for them in this round.
Yeah.
Although, as you mentioned the frog, one of the last races I did commentate for, the frog did make an appearance in the Ganon fight.
I think actually Ricky also did that as well in the week 2. I think there was something about Cynek putting a bounty on it, someone doing it or something.
Yep, that's the race.
I didn't see the initial race that did it, but it was still very entertaining to watch.
Both runners had agreed before the race started that that they were both going to bring the frog into.
I suppose they were lucky that the seed let them, instead of having required progression on it. Anyway, Molder 2 down for Ricky. Now we're sending to fight Aghanim 2. Oh, and there is those chain chomps taking a bite out of Lucario. Now goes Canadian Major, back to the start of the dungeon he goes. That is a minor time loss, but it's time loss nonetheless.
Looks like we have a 1-2-1 so far for Ricky on Geometry Man.
Oh, kind of an awkward angle to be in. Nice double to wrap things up though. And now with Aghanim 2 down, it is now time to fight the pig. Tempered sword in hand, it'll be 12 slashes or 6 spin attacks for the first 2 phases of the fight, the Trident Throw and the Fire Shield phases. After which, RickyofKokiri will have to deal with Ganon's random teleports, which are thankfully seeded for the first time you're into the fight. As when Ganon decides to stop teleporting, he'll shoot a spiraling fire bat. I got my tongue tied there for a little bit. And after that point, if he hits him, he will jump up and stomp the ground, breaking some tiles on the floor. If Ricky falls down the floor, that is a full reset to the fight. After 4 hits, the ground surrounding the entire arena breaks, and we begin the darkness technique. Keep the torches lit.
I think he's gonna have a friend with him when he does it too.
It looks like we will be seeing the frog after all. But yes, keep the torches lit. I think he's doing that because he heard me say it.
Well, he was in chat, so I'm gonna guess that might have had something to do.
But yes, for phase 4, folks, keep the torches lit because Ganon will snuff them out. He'll be completely invulnerable while the torches are unlit. It's striking with this Master Sword. This Master Sword are better to stun him. Actually, Temper Sword are better. You'll have to spin attack with his Master. But then 4 silver arrows and you win the fight. That easy.
And that was a very long-winded explanation for something that should have took 3 minutes.
The real question is does Cynic's bounty count more than once or just one?
I don't know. So Ricky's gonna opt to get a fairy heal here. Someone that hasn't seen the purple chest can fall in the fight. I don't know. I would assume because of the drop down, and you can take the purple chest through a drop down, that you can take the fight chest into the Ganon fight. But I think it might make something wonky because it's not a normal follower.
Already taken one hug from Ganon down to 6 hearts. A second hug would take the remaining 6 hearts.
Gonna opt to use the cape found in Tower Hera to great effect here. Definitely got some 12 hits there. On to phase 3. There's the spiraling fire bed I want to talk about. It's something I forgot to mention here. The fire beds in phases 3 and 4 have a weird sort of knockback to them, in which they actually see which way you're trying to move, and essentially give you knockback in the opposite direction you're moving. So if you stand still, you won't move at all. It's really strange, but once you get hit by it, you come to understand it. It's mainly there to trick you into pushing yourself away from the pit, so that you send yourself in. Basically you panicked? Too bad sort of mechanic. Alright, torches are lit. Ricky lit the left one so fast that the right one will never go out, also known as what we commonly call the torch glitch. And you may see Ganon raising his hands very briefly there. That is a 2-frame window that you may be seeing. And the reason why that's so important is that if we didn't have the silver arrows, that's the time to strike for a sword strike to finish Ganon off that way. But we don't need it here. Ricky has the silver arrows, and that is a dead Ganon. Ladies and gentlemen, get your GG's in chat for RickyofKokiri, who will win this race and go 2-1 in the Swiss, going into week 4. And that is first place with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 35 minutes, 36 seconds. And granted, folks, that does include the study period of 15 minutes, so the official actual race time is 1 hour, 20 minutes, 36 seconds. GG's to RickyofKokiri, who has now joined us. Congratulations and good race, sir.
GG.
I want to ask this right away. Did you do the frog because I mentioned it? It seems he is not responding to us currently. Might have a little bit of a mic issue here. We'll see about if you can get it fixed.
Meanwhile, for Canadian Major, taking some damage, so went to find one of those safety rooms that we talked about, pick up a couple fairies so he can head back into Turtle Rock. Smart play on his part there.
And it looks like...
Oh, there I go now.
Yes. So, I ask again, did you get the frog because I mentioned it?
Yeah, I saw people. Well, I don't have the commentary audio on, but I saw in chat people asking. I was like, oh, yeah, let's do it.
I did mention that you did it last time.
Yes, I did it last time. I wasn't really planning to do it today, but then, chat asked, and I was like, well, I'm ahead, and memes for the win. Here we go.
So both your wins now are with the frog hanging out with you in
Yes,
Ganon's tower.
I think I'm going to call my good luck charm.
Take him with you unless he's absolutely required for progression. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, in this case, he had my red mail, which I probably should have done when I was first in Thieves Town, but except I didn't have the Titans mitts. But yeah, I felt like I had a target on my back that whole thing. Starting that mini Moldorm, it just escalated from there. Everything hitting me.
We noticed you did take a few deaths there, here and there.
Yeah, which is why when I finished Hera, I checked to make sure, I have time, so I made the pit stop at Spiral Cave and Paradox Cave to get those extra safeties. And then I was going to skip Powder, but then I got hit by the laser. It was like, okay, I'm getting Powder so I can use fairies. Like, it was nasty.
Yeah, what's nasty is that opening to the seed.
Oh
Being a
my!
forced Aghanim.
Forced Aga and the Zora.
Unfortunately, Canadian Major does not have a bottle like you do, and it does take a death.
Ow.
But did use the exit door, so pretty easy to get back to Trinex, thankfully. So yeah,
Yes.
when we started looking at the spoiler seed, money seemed to be an issue, and then it's like, how do you get Dark World access? So what was the first 5 minutes like for you reading through that spoiler seed?
The first 5 minutes, the way I do the spoiler log is I skim line by line pretty quickly just to get an idea of where the items are and stuff. I don't really do a search. And so I'm going down and I see Hammer and Dark and Pod and I'm like, oh no. And then I see Timesmiths in a Swamp Pass. I'm like, well, that's Aga then. And then just continuing on, Ice Rods on Zora. And what was... Oh, and then... I see Moon Pearls in Potion Shop. I'm like, okay, where's the mushroom? And I see it's on Sahasrara. I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Like, come on. So yeah, that was a thing.
On the flip side, because it was on Sahasrara, which was boots locked in Desert, because the green pendant is Desert Brow's boss key,
Right.
you got early boots.
Yeah, that was a pretty much a no-brainer. Seeing Ocarina and Boots on Southern Shore was like, okay, I'm going there first as soon as I have a weapon of some kind, which happened to be in Link's house, which is awesome. The thing I messed up is when I saw that Sarastula had the mushroom and the glove was in the back, I figured, okay, I'll do that in one trip. I'll go to Desert Palace, get the green pendant, get both the glove and the mushroom at the same time. I forgot I need the glove to get to Lemola's.
Chad, you may have just noticed there, and the B-Tour Sleeps Again Forever, we did have one of our bottles on pedestal. And we actually had another bottle as well, which is in a really bad spot. Cold Stare had one.
Yeah, all the bottles were in bad spots. That Spiral Cave was like the only convenient bottle.
Yeah.
And even that was out of the way.
Yeah, the third and final bottle, that one was actually kind of out of the way, but at the same time was available because you had to do Aghanim because it was on Lumberjack, I believe.
I had no reason to go up to the Lumberjack area, so I consider that out of the way.
Yes.
I suppose
And
we can mention it now. The final sword was in Hookshot Cave.
yes. I didn't want to mention it initially because that might have affected Canadian Major's routing, but he is already committing to Ganon's tower here.
Yep. That's why we hadn't mentioned it yet. Yeah, it was Ricky. Both you and Canadian Major made the same mistake with needing gloves to get to the back of Desert, and I assumed it was just trying to match up Sahasrara. So
Yeah, I didn't take into account the needing the glove for Desert Palace.
So, kind of talk us through what your thoughts were getting enough money for Zora, because we noticed you both had to go do Houlihan early to have enough money. The bombs inside Sanctuary seemed like a big help for you to keep some money.
Yeah, the bombs were great in Sanctuary, and then doing Houlihan. But yeah, my thoughts on it, like, you notice I only found like one 300 rupee pile. Like, none of the money was convenient. I did a search for the 300 rupees, like 2 of them were in Ganon's tower. The 100 rupee, I think, was also in Ganon's tower. The 50 rupees were on the Old Man of Death Mountain, which I wasn't going to do because I didn't need to. It was just, like, it was so obnoxious. So it was like, But the fortunate thing was, because Zora was Ice Rod, I kind of figured, okay, I can do that last if I need to, as long as I do it before I go up Death Mountain the first time. And then as I'm going through Pod, I was like, oh yeah, there's money in here, and that got me to the 500 I needed. But that was nuts too. Like, the money was just so badly placed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only other one which Canadian Major picked up was on Zora's Ledge, which you would need the flippers for before you could.
Yeah, I needed flippers for that, and plus by the time I got there, I had the money I needed. I probably could have picked that up to do, like, potions, but I didn't have any bottles, so it wasn't really... I didn't intend to get the bottle on Spiral Cave until I had such a bad time. I was like, I don't want to get killed in Turtle Rock.
Yeah. And really, the only 300 that was even remotely on your way was the one in Eastern Palace. I believe you both picked that up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in the chat, Vince put 300 rupees were Eastern Palace, Zora Ledge, GT, and Purple Chest. That was the one I was forgetting.
Which means you'd have to send your frog friend away in order to get it.
Yes, but overall that was fine. I'm just a little irritated of all the deaths I took. Like on the way through Skull Woods, I'm like, okay, I'm fine, and I'm already nervous because I don't like Mothula without a backup bottle, and I didn't have any bottles. But I'm going through there, and I get nailed by the Gibdos. I get nailed by the what are they called? Levers outside the entrance, and it's like, okay, I'm going to take a death here just so I have more than one heart going in. Ay.
I believe those are the enemies outside Skullwoods are named Popo, I believe. Or no, Ropas. That's her name.
Ropas, there you go. Ropas. Okay, yeah, that's them.
Yeah, levers are in desert. So.
Right. But yeah, it was all kinds of. Oh my goodness, I had a target on my back. They were all gunning for me, but other than that, it was fine.
Yeah.
And even with all that worry, your Mothula execution was very strong. 4 hits and it was done. It was a very quick fight.
Yeah, that was nice. I am gradually getting better at that fight.
So there is one thing I want to probe your mind for as we see your collection screen here, and that is the medallion right there below the hook shot, the Bombus medallion. You picked that up even though Colster was 100% not required.
I picked that up for the purposes of the Gibdos and Skullwoods in the torch hallway, and possibly using it up the gauntlet. It was a safety for me, basically.
That makes perfect sense, honestly, and it was used to great effect even then.
Yeah, I only used it in the Gibdo room, but definitely his safety. It's like, I'm burning these people up. Get out of my way.
I mean, I don't blame you. Those Gibdos can be quite annoying. And speaking of Bombos, we just see Canadian Major using it to just absolutely just annihilate this particular last room.
Yeah, exactly.
And attempting to one cycle of the land moles here, but unfortunately does not quite get it.
So yeah, this scene was just all over the place, and we noticed you also did not successfully do Haripot there. So I want to ask this question of you: had you done Haripot, would you have not gotten the cave? Obviously, you wouldn't because of the Big Key's location.
That was my plan. I honestly, on my way up the mountain and going into Hera, I was debating back and forth with myself. Okay, am I fine skipping the cape? Am I fine skipping the cape? And then, like, I normally with the Haripot clip, I can nail the first pixel position, but I have trouble with the second one. I messed up so badly on the first pixel position. I don't know if it was just nerves or I was tilted because of all the hits I was taking, but I did it twice. I was like, you know what? That's a sign. I'm grabbing the cape. Yeah, I have a bad track record with the Haripot clip anyway, but having it go that badly with just the first position, it was like, nah, I'm getting the cape.
Well, once again, GG to you, Ricky.
Thank you.
You're now 2-1 in the Swiss. That's gotta feel good here.
Yes, it does. It does.
And if I recall correctly, only the top 8 move on, so you are definitely in contention here. So hopefully you can
at the moment, we'll see how. Like now that I'm 2-1, I'm going to be paired up with other 2-1s, and that's going to be fierce.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy competition going forward.
The main thing I need to do, I need to get better at lower percent, so I'm not spending time grabbing the safeties, and I'm not spending time dying either. Like, I need to... yeah. I need to get better at that. Another mistake I made early on is I debated fake flippering to the Waterfall Fairy to get the Tempered Sword after killing Aga, but I'm like... I'm here, I'll just do pod, it shouldn't be that big a deal, and then I get the Helmet Star with 5 hearts, and I'm like, oh, I really should have thought this through, and then I died. So, yeah. Yeah, I need to get better at low percent.
Don't we all? Don't we all? But anyway, GGC Ricky here. I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. Any final thoughts about the seat before that though?
No, honestly, like, even with the kind of messy beginning, it wasn't that bad, it being a spoiler, and just not remembering I needed glove for Desert Palace, and just all the bad guys zeroing in on me. Those are the biggest things. But other than that, it was actually pretty fun. I had a good time.
Indeed. Well, we shall see you in the week 4.
Yes. All right, thank you so much, and I hope everyone had a good time watching.
GG, thanks.
And folks, once again, this is the last match of week 3 on the schedule for us. We'll be starting week 4 in earnest. It's starting next week. And currently, there's only one match that I'm seeing on the schedule for week 4 that is currently to be determined, however, so I don't want to mention the details on it just yet, but it is Tabby Cat 54 versus Jetto Man, and we will see about that. And of course, there will be more matches scheduled throughout the week as we move forward with the tournament and things getting settled and matches getting decided of that nature.
That's right. We
It's-
have 7 weeks of Swiss. They're finishing up week 3 with this, and maybe one more, and then week 4 is upon us on Monday. Very exciting to see the new pairings come out. Everyone's matched with a like record, so the 3-0s will play. Same for the 2-1s like Ricky, and so on down the list. Everyone's guaranteed 7 weeks before we cut to the top 8 for the brackets.
Well, that is actually a week 3 match on the schedule currently. So we had one bleed over, it looks like. Must have been something there. But yeah, SpeedGaming 5, welcome to this race here that is almost done. We are currently hosting Canadian Invasion. RickyofKokiri is already finished here. Canadian Invasion is just wrapping up of the spoiler log race here. It's been a bit of a rough one.
Yes, we were finally
Not
on
get
to
the one
Ganon.
cycle here. Opting to pull out the Canberra. Now, you might notice that there's a little bit of lag going on here. And that is one of the downsides to the Canberra, is it is a lag generator. Makes the fight actually a little bit slower overall. And it's also the most biggest reason why most people prefer the Cape over the Canberra, because that one, I think, actually makes the game lag less, in fact, I want to say. Because your entire sprite is invisible.
And you can also grab a wall and stop the magic meter from going down.
Alright, so this is the final hit here for Canadian Major. And Ganon is going to guard the torch here. Does get the torch glitch very quickly done. Oh, there's one of those fire bats I was talking about. Ganon was pushing forward, so it pushed him backwards. Nice double. That right torch will never go out. Normally it would if both the torches go out. There's a hit. 1, 2, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, get your GGs in chat for Canadian Major, who finishes strong here. 1 heart left, I might add. Oh, I didn't even notice that until just now. But pulls it through, finishes strong. And that is GG's to Canadian Major, who is finished with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 51 minutes, 51 seconds. Again, taking study period into account, so this actual time is 1 hour, 36 minutes, and 51 seconds. And it looks like we will be joined by Canadian Major shortly for a quick interview here. But GG's to both runners once again for an excellent race. And who boy, was this an interesting one. And we are now joined by Canadian Major. GG's to you, good effort here. And
GG.
one thing that immediately comes to my mind here is I want to ask this. Sanctuary chest?
I don't know what was in it.
It was the 10 bomb pack.
Oh. Oops. I mean, I just made a couple really bad decisions, and it kind of cost
Yeah.
it. But I made a decision when I first started this 4 months ago that I would never not finish a seed.
Yeah, you did very well, all things considering. I mean, the death to Trinus was, I think, your only death, whereas Ricky died to the mini Moldorms in the mini Moldor Cave, as well as to Helmasaur King as well.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
That just goes to show how much better he is at this game than me. No.
But you were also
GG's to him.
presented with a very nasty seed to start out with. You had a lot of different areas you had to.
I mean, if this seed was far and away better than my seed last week, where I had all 3 swords locked behind GT and Trinex.
Whew.
So there was only 1 sword last week.
Yeah, this
What were
seed
the-
kind of gave you the runabout here. Thankfully, the safeties were fairly readily available. There's plenty of heart containers. There was the magic powder in the big key chest, which I think you did pick up.
I did. I was really thinking about skipping it just because I'd seen that Ricky was already so far ahead of me. But I was like, there's no catching up, so I might as well just grab it for the finish.
Yeah, there was also the gold sword, which was in Hookshot Cave.
Yeah.
Cave, which we didn't mention right away. There was also the bottle in Spectacle Rock Cave, or Spiral Cave, sorry.
Okay,
But
yeah.
I don't think you did pick up.
I didn't have any bottles. 0 bottles
Yeah.
that entire run.
Yeah, the bottles were in terrible, terrible locations. One of which was on pedestal, in fact.
Yep. Golden Bee, I think.
Yeah, this seed was fairly rough in terms of just having the safeties one would normally want. A bottle, an armor, which thankfully there wasn't armor available, but only after a while. And the swords were fairly readily available, but then again it was an Aghanim seed, which Aghanim seeds are
Agaseeds are always annoying.
Yeah, now I'm actually curious about this, and I don't know where it is. I want to see where this is. Oh, our friendly magic bat apparently had a net over him.
Yeah.
Which, if you want to go for full safety on this, you could have picked that up at the same time you went to get the red mail, which neither of you did.
I had it written down in my notes, but it just wasn't worth getting.
No. And I don't blame you for not wanting to go get it. That is fairly out of the way given the routing here.
Yeah. No, overall, like, it was a good seed. Ricky did really well. I kind of already knew that my level of gameplay was not really anywhere near where his was. So, but you know, I still went in here with positive attitude, thinking, you know, if push comes to shove, I might be able to squeeze out a victory if he messes up a couple times and I get it flawless. But unfortunately, it just couldn't happen.
Yeah. Good on you, though, for having the tenacity to finish the seed and not being discouraged, though. So that is the mentality that is fairly easy to lose, I would say. Hey, but it is good to show. And you weren't that far off, really. This wasn't a steamroll. If Ricky had a few more major deaths, this could have turned into a different story altogether. And such is the nature of spoiler log races, in which there is going to be a high chance of death and a high chance of time loss because of the deaths.
Yeah.
So, 136, that's still pretty good in my book.
Oh yeah, that by far and away, still not quite PB for me, but pretty dang close. I think my PB is probably about a 131. Oh.
Well, good luck with round 4 here. You will be going down to 1 and 2 here. Yep. I don't know where the cutoff is for being able to qualify. I would like to think that you're on the very cusp of not making it, but there's still a chance, I would say. A very long shot at this point, though. But, hey, at this point, you might as well be playing for fun, and that's always a good mentality to have.
I mean, that's exactly why I joined this tournament, you know, get out there, have some fun, play with some new people. I race quite a bit on my own channel with my good buddy Anorax10, but this is just like he entered the tournament and encouraged me. He's like, you're good. You got the potential to actually get through this, and I was like, I don't know, but I decided to join anyways.
And you have 7 weeks to practice against some good competition, so it's a good chance to see what others can do.
Indeed.
Exactly.
Well, good luck to you as you progress to the Swiss. Hopefully you'll be able to make it through. And if not, you had fun along the way, and that's what matters, really, in the end.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Ark and Wolf, for commentating this, and whom it was that was doing the tracking.
That was, I believe, if I can go over here, that was Adalor, our tracker here, keeping those items up to date for you, and keeping us a little bit honest up here in the booth as well. Thank you for tracking Adalor, and thank you, Art, for co-commentating. And of course, make sure to follow our 2 runners here. They were, of course, the main stars of the show here. And of course, make sure to follow SpeedGaming and SpeedGaming 236 so you don't miss any racing action, not just a Link to the Past Randomizer. Here. And that's going to do it for us today, folks. So from all of us here at Link to the Past Randomizer, I have been Wolfling0370, and we shall see you all next time. And thank you for watching. Have a good night, everyone.